With great success, though, comes great power, and with great power comes great responsibility. When you suffer a crisis, as we have seen very recently, unfortunately, your client it's not only your client anymore. That client's entire family and everybody that suffers with them also becomes your responsibility.
Aviation has the potential to make an important contribution to economic growth and development within Africa. Liberalization brings many benefits. It benefits the consumer, it benefits the airlines, and at the same time also it also stimulates trade volumes, and it actually results in economic growth and an increase in employment. Again, if African nations and airlines don't fully embrace SATM for the benefit of Africa, then the continent, its people and its airlines are likely to reach their full potential. With the implementation of SATM, intra-African connectivity will develop and there will be more growth opportunities for African airlines. As a result, aviation's role as an economic driver will grow significantly. And last but not the least, the goal for SATM is to strengthen safety and security oversight on the continent and promote a climate of cooperation amongst African carriers through partnerships, mergers and consortiums.
Now, you've listened and you're obviously in this sector for quite some time, and even from discussions this morning, from the opening ceremony, from the discussions, from the panels and presentations, you know that change is not an option anymore. Change is actually necessary.
I think the first thing is that there needs to be a will amongst the African airlines themselves. They need to be able to understand the concept of cooperation beyond just the rhetoric. That they have to have a commitment. And I think there are three things that need to be put into that commitment triad. The first one is there has to be a stakeholder measurement capacity. That says it's not only one African airline, but it's all the African airlines. And they have to have a scorecard upon which they are measured to say, are you participating in this particular aspect of increasing intra-African connectivity? That's the one part of the trial. The second part is to say, once the commitment is made, then we have to give them timelines. We can't wait until we meet again next year for us to review. So we have to have a timeline that clearly stipulates what should be done when, so that we measure it. And the third part is the easier part as far as I'm concerned, which is then for them to have a peer review mechanism, where they actually start saying amongst themselves, have we been able to agree, number one, on the need for us to increase intra-African connectivity, and number two, what are the measurement mechanisms and when are we going to measure each other?
Okay. Nowadays, we see too many airlines with 1 or 2 or 3 aircraft, very inefficiently run, with a very high cost and soon to be disappearing. It is very important that African airlines need to work and consolidate with each other so as to be able to be strong. You know the famous saying is how to be a billionaire running an airline. You start, how to be a millionaire, you start as a billionaire. So it's something that we all need to remember, that the cost of operation is very expensive. There's a lot of need for too many support elements to make the airline succeed. Thus, airlines need to understand that they need to work with other airlines and merge with them somehow, some form, like the SAS venture, like the West African Airlines venture, like the East African Airlines venture. We were thinking about this 20 and 30 and 40 years ago. Now we no longer think about it on our own.
Africa is growing, is changing. People realize the market is there. There are opportunities for growth for everyone. At the end of the day, the simple question to me is, people should talk more not in the mind of stealing or being bigger than the other one, but in the sense of developing between themselves. In the Indian Ocean, yesterday we had discussion with SOMAS. There's ways and means to optimize. It's just that you need to have the will.
It's a bit difficult to say there is too many airlines because Africa is a consortium of 54 different countries. I mean, it's not, we will always refer to North America consolidation. First, it's not a continent, it's a country. It's a big country, yes, but we have a tendency to forget about the last 30, 40 years of consolidation and Chapter 11 back and forth and so on and so forth. So I think there is different cases, and I understand the political willingness from the states to have their own tool to develop the country and the economy. I think SOMAS presented it last year about the how vital Air Mauritius is to the Mauritian economy. This morning, I think even also Rwanda is not an island, it's a kind of a Lockland island, if we could say. So for the same reason, and at the end of the day, even if, as Ivan was saying this morning, it's not yet profitable, we can say, looking at Rwanda from the outside, or even from the inside a few times in my life, it's amazing the importance and the development the country has been reaching, and I bet that the contribution of the airline is for something into that. Even so, the money is not going to the airline at the end of the day.
I think there should be the willingness, we need the goodwill from all the governments, basically to make aviation work for Africa. I think this is something which is fundamental, and that African airlines should not be undermined. And in the case of Yamoussoukro, for instance, I think first time we talked about Yamoussoukro dates back to 30 years. And 30 years ago, the conditions are not the same today. We're still talking about liberalizing fifth freedom traffic rights when the model is not anymore about fifth freedom. All airlines are operating basically on sixth freedom traffic rights. And this is one of the concerns of African airlines as well as intra-African traffic. So the model has to evolve on the one hand. From the economic side, I think we talk a lot about cost of operations, and government has to be sensitized that we should not be taken up as a milk cow, basically, for tax revenue. If we want costs to go down and improve the propensity to travel, which SOMAS has dwelled upon, we should bring cost of travel down, and at the same time, create the propensity to travel by increasing affordability, the demand for travel. When this happens, automatically we will have a bigger size of the market to capture.